Another day, another few jobs done in the office or garage. Just kidding. Yeah, front hood is basically complete. I actually even touched up the side vents. I painted them in the SCM trim black, added the 2 extra vents. Yeah, and they're sturdy and they line up really well. They're nice, they're level with the leading edge. So yeah, I think that's gonna work really well. Happy with the outcome, think it looks good. I'm gonna keep the 2022/3 livery on the hood just because I don't have time to rewrap it. Up next, as you can tell, I got the wing off. Why do I have the wing off? Well, I actually realized I had these prototype, this is like version 1 of my wing mounts that I made originally. This is a machine by Padded Old Boys, obviously. And this is version 2. Version 2 is obviously a lot better because, you know, you got the sweet knife edged and then these are all threaded holes, whereas these holes, these are just through holes. But what makes this potentially a good option for Lime Rock is we're going for, let's call this spec of the car for Lime Rock the high downforce spec, right? Because we got the hood, we got the louvers on the front, you know, that should add a little bit of downforce. And what we're gonna do is we're going to run the wing a little bit higher because these mounts put the wing about 3 to 4 inches higher. So you can kind of see the difference. Higher wing element, a little bit cleaner air above the roof of the car, maybe produce more downforce with less drag, right? So the theory is, I'm hoping that I could add downforce to the car without increasing the drag because I don't have to run the angle as aggressive because, you know, you have a lot more clean airflow up top versus the airflow down here, you know, you might not have as much. So we're gonna try it, see what happens. Wrong way. Here we go. High downforce wing. A little bit higher. Thing looks a little goofy because I'm used to it being a little lower, but I think it'll look good once the car is on the ground. So anyway, high downforce rear spec. Just gonna take it off, paint it once again with the SCM trim black. Some other things I'm working on. I've removed the ballast plate. Lime Rock is basically an oval. It's a lot of right-hand corners, and you want to have essentially as much weight on the inside corner of the car as possible, you know, to increase the amount of grip that the inside wheels can produce in a corner. Lime Rock, it's a lot of right-handers, so I want to increase as much weight as I can onto the left side of the car. That way when I'm going through those right-handers, the inside tires actually do something, and I guess it also helps with a little bit of weight transfer. So this is the weight plate that I have. It's a pretty simple setup. It's this really thick plate, and then I have a bunch of bolts that go from the bottom. They go to these nuts. The nuts are welded so they don't move. And then, yeah, very simple. You just basically drop the weights onto these studs, and then you nut the weights down, call it a day. What I want to do is I want to increase as much weight on the passenger side of the car. So what I'm going to do is I bought longer studs. These aren't them. These are the original studs. And I'm going to double stack these weights like this. And I'm probably going to do that for this row and this row. And then I'm going to make a plate that kind of connects it just to kind of stiffen this whole setup up. And the idea is I'm going to have 25, 50, 75, 100 pounds. I'm going to have 100 pounds of weight located right there, as far over to the passenger side as I can. And last thing is power. Let's talk about power. Horsepower in GLTC. A lot of people don't really know the rules of GLTC with power. It's kind of confusing, but basically it's a part of weight class. So you claim a horsepower, and then you have to adjust the weight accordingly to match that, along with, you know, additional modifiers like the wing, for example, what tire you select, ABS, not ABS, front-wheel drive, etc. Anyway, just regarding the horsepower, there's obviously a benefit when you're running a part of weight series to have as much power at that claimed horsepower as possible, right? So that's called what we call flat power. So if I claim 204 horsepower, I want to make 204 horsepower as long as possible. Now, that does get penalized in GLTC. You have to take percentage for that. I think it's like an extra 2 to 3%. It's based on how many thousand RPMs of flat power you have. I used to do that the last few seasons. I would basically run the car at about 200 horsepower, and I would just detune it with the throttle body. So the car would make 200 at 6,000, and then it would just stay flat all the way to red line at 84, which is awesome because no matter what RPM you're at in that range, you're always at your maximum claimed horsepower. In 2024, they decided to penalize that. Again, it goes back and forth. The rules change year by year. So what I decided to do this season is I decided to do like a natural power band. A natural power band, you don't get a penalty for that. However, this K24, all motor, completely full power, makes too much power for the weight I'm trying to run at. So what I end up doing is I run a restrictor plate. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see this metal piece right here between the adapter and the throttle body. It's a restrictor plate, and it's basically just designed to reduce horsepower across the entire RPM range. And it's pretty good because it gets me to about 204 wheel horsepower. This is another example of a restrictor plate. This is a 47 millimeter hole, pretty small. What I have in it right now is a 50 millimeter restrictor plate. And like I said, full power, this will make about 230 to the wheels. With the 50 mil, it makes about 204. And then I can play with the power band just a little bit with the throttle body detune. The issue that I have, or I've had this season with this setup, is that it makes really good low end power, and it gets to my 204, and it's pretty good, and then around 78 it kind of starts to drop, and then above 8,000 it goes down pretty quick, just because this engine's not getting enough air at the higher RPM. Now, with the short gear ratios, it's not really an issue, because I can shift early. I had my set points at Road America set to about 7,800 RPM, which means that every time I shift and drop down to a lower gear, the RPM drops to like 6,000 or like 6,500, and I'm still in the meat of where my power is. The issue happens though once I start revving a gear out above 8,000 RPM. So if I rev a gear out above 8,000 RPM, horsepower starts to drop substantially. I think at 8,400 RPM, it's making about 190 wheel horsepower, which is 14 horsepower down from where I want to be. For Lime Rock, the peak speed going into turn one is about 122, 124. I have two options. I can keep this as is, shift at a lower RPM, and then go from 5 to 6 on the straightaway and use 6th gear for a little bit, and then shift down to third. A lot of shifting. Every time you shift, you're losing a few tenths of a second. What I could do is I can rev 5th gear out to 8,400 RPM, but now the problem is I'm staying in that gear, but my horsepower is dropping a lot. So what I want to do for Lime Rock is I want to go back to a partially flat power band, right? Not full, not from 6 to 84, but maybe from like 65 to 8, right? And I will take a percent penalty for that. So I'll go from 0% and then 1%. So 1% is about 25 pounds of extra weight, which isn't terrible. And so what I'm gonna do is, this is a long explanation. I probably might explain this better with a voiceover. But long story short, this power band is not making enough power at the top end. I want more top end power so I can basically rev out these gears a little bit longer. Sure, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a different restrictor that I have. So I have 3 of these. I have a 43, a 47, and then right now what's currently on the car, which is a 50. And I'm gonna basically bore this out to 55 millimeter. Make it bigger, make it a 55 mil, slap it on the car, and then I'm gonna get on the dyno at Lime Rock and I'm gonna retune it to make still my 204, I'm thinking, but I'm gonna make that across a wider range, right? I'm gonna detune a little bit with the throttle body, but now I have the overhead to make a little bit more power on the top end. And then after that, I think that's gonna be it in terms of mods for Lime Rock. So let's just get to work. 53.8, 54. Do I want to send it at 54 or do I want to keep going to 55? All right, after a little bit more work, 54.5, 54.8. I'm happy with it. We're gonna send it. 54.5 mil, 55 mil restrictor plate. Now, I didn't really cover this. Why am I even putting a restrictor plate in the car if I could just detune it with the throttle body? Well, I used to detune with the throttle body a lot last year, only the throttle body. So it was only a throttle body and no restrictor plate. And I detuned it and it worked pretty well. The problem when you detune with the throttle body like that is there's a lot of chances for little errors to cause a big blip in power across that entire flat RPM range. So if you get dyno compliance and you make like 2 horsepower more around like 6,000 RPM because your throttle body blade was a little bit more open than it was before, you could blow the dyno. It's pretty easy to do that. So with the restrictor plate, it reduces the amount that I need to detune with the throttle body. So I only really have to do like a small portion, like maybe 300 to 400 RPM versus just doing it entirely with the throttle body. I'd have to do it all from 6 to 8K. So there's a lot more possibility to get disqualified and to make more power when you detune with the throttle body. Plus, I don't think the engine is particularly happy when you do that, right? Because you're trying to run the engine at full tilt, but you have the throttle body only open 50%. I think the engine doesn't really like it. I think it complains a little bit. I personally haven't had issues with it, but I know tuners, they kind of warned me that, you know, it's not best for the engine. So with the restrictor plate, I'm reducing the overall horsepower and shifting the entire grab down. And then all I have to do is just adjust a little portion of the power curve. And I just think it's a more reliable way to make consistent power. That's why I'm doing this. And that's pretty much proven to be the case this season. Every time I go on the dyno, the car makes exactly 204 horsepower. So with this guy, we're gonna make a little bit more power on the top end, and we're gonna pull a little bit more power where it's at its peak, and then we're gonna have a little bit more flat, and we'll probably have to take an extra percentage of comp balance, but that's okay. But another project done, all I gotta do is swap it. Pretty quick and easy. You guys don't need to see that. Another day in the shop, another morning. Yeah, a lot of progress. Let's do the thing where I just tell you what I've done and we just ignore the fact that I didn't record anything. We went back to the previous version splitter or under tray, and this under tray basically just matches the curvature of the lip really well. I got the hood pins back on. I still need to adjust the height of those. It's not perfect, but that's good enough. The weight tray. So I took the weight tray out, and I actually also painted it with some nice black Steelite because it was looking pretty rough. I got these longer studs from McMaster Car, and the goal is pretty simple. Let me put this weight in here. So yeah, you drop the weight like that, and then I made these brackets. I gotta make one more, but really thick steel bracket. It's gonna sit on here, so it's gonna get bolted, and that's just gonna kind of keep these studs from, you know, like bending when I'm in the corner. So I gotta make one more of these brackets, and it's gonna get all bolted down. I'm gonna have 125 pounds worth of bricks on this side. The plate itself is about 25 pounds. So I'm pretty excited to put the car on the scales and like move those bricks around and see how much I can manipulate the weight of the car on the right side. We got the taller wing mounts on. I painted them. What else do I got left to do today? Let's go check out some new tires that I got. Shaved 265 3518 Pumas. And yeah, these are the white wheels again. And what I think I'm gonna actually do is I think I'm gonna scuff them down a little bit and paint them white because I wanna rock the white wheels again. I thought the white wheels looked pretty good. And then I'm also gonna do another thing that you guys I think are gonna like a lot. I'm gonna bring the aero disc back. Let me pop these open and show you what we're working with here. Boom. It's like a pizza box. Yeah, we're gonna rock the white aero disc in the rear, and I think the red looks cool. I just think it's a little bit too much red for the livery. So I actually have this same exact design, except in black. So I think I'm gonna change the stickers rocket black, just because I think the red's a little bit too much. But I do think these in the back with the white front wheels, I think it's gonna look epic. And yeah, just going for like, you know, that touring car legends vibe, because we are going to the Circuit Legends event at Lima. These came out freaking sweet. So yeah, these are super cool, man. The design was done by Rob Wilkinson, Syndicate, right? He's the guy who takes all the pictures of my car that I always post on the end of my videos. And he's also the guy who designed the entire livery of my car for the past 2 or 3 seasons. So awesome dude. And yeah, the print is made by EMC. So Ben Mitch, homie, he's the guy that supplied all the wrap for the race car. And he basically made these really high quality wrap material. I think these things look absolutely sweet. I think the red was a little bit too much, but these are gonna look good. I'm super pumped for those, man. I'm glad I'm bringing them back. I ran them all last season because I thought they looked pretty cool. It's actually a funny story because I actually found used Tire Rack Motorsports wheels, and I thought on a whim, maybe I could buy these rotoform aero disc and modify them and make it work on the rear wheel. So yeah, these are TRMs. And yeah, let me show you how these fit on here. These rotoform discs fit almost perfectly on this wheel. And I'll show you later how I mount them, but that's what it's gonna look like. And I'm gonna pair that with the TSW Kenmoras. So I've had blue ones and I painted these white for CMP and they got completely destroyed. So I actually just sanded them down. I'm gonna respray them in white, but I'm also, one thing I didn't do last time is I didn't add clear. So I have a bunch of gloss clear and I didn't clear them because I thought the clear was gonna yellow, but what actually ended up happening is this gloss white just got burned up and turned black. So I'm gonna do the white and the clear, I'm gonna respray just the fronts, and then I'm gonna have these front white wheels with the white aero disc in the back, and I think it's gonna look epic. Getting the wheels prepped, just taping up the tires just so they don't get covered in paint. But I was starting to work on getting this front end back together. Yeah, unfortunately, I keep breaking my headlights. I actually don't break the headlights. I seem to break just the housing themselves. So I thought this side was good because all of these seem to survive, but it looks like we got a little crack right there that holds this bottom bracket. Driver's side's way broken. Yeah, top piece busted, bottom piece busted. It seems, oh, sorry, that's the headlight from CMP. So that was already broken. Where's the headlight? So yeah, this is the headlight from Road America. It broke every single tab. And I was bummed because like the headlight is fine, but I got no way to mount it. And I don't have any spares because I used them all this season. But I realized I actually do, because to be honest with you guys, I kind of forgot about this car. Look what I found. 2 mint headlights and OEM corners. Yeah, I think those are good. Gonna take those off, put them on the race car, probably break them. And yeah, we'll have the final 2 sets of headlights that I own. If anybody's got some, maybe send them my way, please. Thank you. Talk for some clear. Roy's helping out.
Shaking
that can. It's gonna look good. I'm excited. We'll see if the clear helps these wheels last white a little bit longer. I doubt it, but at least they'll look good for one session. All right, pretty simple design. I had to cut these. These are the rotoform ones, and normally there's a big nut in the middle that these screw into, but I cut that out to fit. Once again, these are Tire Rack Motorsports wheels. And it works out perfectly because we got 3 kind of supports that line up with the spokes, and then I made holes. Let's line up the valve stem first. So it fits pretty good. And then I got basically these guys. I got these nice plastic washers and pop them through. Roy's judging me in the background. or you might need to hold it. And then I made these little brackets here, nice little foam pad on them. I got these plastic Delrin spacers from McMaster Car, and they slide on the stud, then bracket, and now the disc is held on that 2 more times. It's solid. I mean, I could lift the wheel up by the aero disc. It's not going anywhere. So yeah, it's just 6 bolts. And like I said, it's just pure luck that this aero disc fits this specific wheel so well, because it's not designed to. And then yeah, on the back, you have the spacer that is the perfect height of the back of the spoke, some lock nut washer or lock nuts, and that's it. Fixed the place only on 3 of the 6, and then the other 3, you can see there's that little bracket that kind of centers it really well. And I don't know, I think it looks badass. One more to go. Sun is tired. Waiting on these to dry. Did the final coat of clear. Still tacky. Ready for Lime Rock, and man, she cleans up nice. Also, we got new Hawk Year 1 pads in the front, awesome pads. There's still a lot of life on them, but I figured might as well go to the weekend with a full fresh set so I don't have to swap them mid-weekend, because you guys kind of saw what happened in CMP. You know, it takes a few laps for the pads to get bed in. But anyway, yeah, back to the original front bumper blade that matches that doobie lip. We got last year's hood on the car. All I had to do was add two louvers. So this hood should provide a little bit better cooling, a little bit more downforce. Got the air disc in the back, and then yeah, we got the taller wing mounts. And then the last major thing that I've done is the weight plate. Once this is all bolted, it's gonna basically tie all 5 of these weights together. And you know, we want all the weight on the passenger side because it's mostly right-hand corners. And then just kidding, I did one more thing. We swapped the restrictor plate on the throttle body. So we went 5 mil bigger than what I had at the last event. We're gonna have a little bit more power, a little bit broader power band. So that's essentially it for Lime Rock. I'm feeling pretty confident. This car should be good at Lime Rock. It's really good at high speed, high commitment corners, especially with the aero in the back. And yeah, it's just light, you know, it's light, it's nimble, handles well. Not the best at braking because, you know, once again, I am in an ABS class and I'm not rocking ABS, but there's really not a lot of braking zones at Lime Rock, you know, going into turn 1, but you know, turn 1, you kind of float a lot of speed into that corner. So should be pretty good. I think Lime Rock is a really good track. The season I debuted this car in 2022, I actually finished 2nd overall, which was incredible because that was the 2nd event of this car. Road America, we had a slight issue with the axle. I have not touched it because it survived the last 2 races, so I'm gonna leave the axle as is. And you know, I hope that I got all those gremlins kind of out of the way, because the only thing that's gonna really ruin this weekend is if I have more mechanicals. I'm probably gonna spend the next few days kind of going over the entire car. I did all the work to it already, alignment's done, all the mods are done. So now I have basically a full, I don't know, like three days to kind of really look at all the minor details, make sure everything's good. I'm probably gonna swap the engine oil with Motul 300V, also the transmission as well, since it's been a few events. And yeah, I'm just excited, man. Lime Rock's gonna be a good track. It's a good event. It's awesome vibe, man. It's kind of the main reason why I went with the Aero Disc, because it's circuit legends, man. And this is a super touring inspired legendary race car, you know? So that's why I did what I did. And of course, I'm always trying to compete for victories. So I think the car is gonna be fast. So anyway, that's it for this video. This was a long one, man. I did a lot of work, probably split into multiple parts. And yeah, I'll see you guys at Lime Rock, and hopefully the car does well. Hopefully I do well as a driver. And yeah, just keep it clean. Don't wanna damage any more corners or headlights. Let's try to keep them in one piece this weekend.